Thank you. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. We were all huddling together before coming into this panel along with our lunch and discussing how we need to approach this panel. So we believe that it's important to cater to what needs that you have. And therefore, before starting off the panel, it was important to get a sense of the audience in this room. So I'll ask you a few questions after Major General's very inspiring speech, which I think you were all very disciplined in attending to. Let me just chill you a little bit. So how many of you are from CSRs? Can you lift up your hands, please? Who represent CSR organizations? Lift your hands really up. Okay, good. Oh, that's few for a CSR summit. But anyways, okay, how many of you represent the education sector? In some way, directly, indirectly. Oh, wow. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, how many of you have kids? Wow. How many of you have kids who are in the 8th to 12th grade? Interesting. How many of those kids have chosen a subject which is close to their hearts and not what you guys have decided? Wow. How many of those kids were career guided? Well, I would have expected more hands to go up. If this is our situation, the voice of the middle class, where young youth that we want to really build for building a strong, resurgent India, aren't choosing their careers in an informed manner, the worry and the concern that all of us have is, can we really build a truly strong India? And therefore, this panel will spend a lot of time talking about their experiences and actually working with young students and how their career orientation has been shaped, how they've been funded to do courses that are dear to their hearts, and how they've actually done that and achieved. And I was stumped by some of the examples that they actually mentioned. I'm sure the esteemed panelists here are going to talk about that. But before we start the conversations, do you have a sense of what is the size of the youth population in this country? And by the way, what is youth defined as? Any ideas? 15 to 29 is what is, the definition. What is the numbers today? What's of our population of, say, 1.2, 1.3 billion, how much is the youth? Sorry? We're at about 27-30%, something like 300, something like that, which is 300 million. Now that's whopping size. If you don't get this group right, we're in big, serious problem. When the youth of the country are not trained and oriented, we have a serious problem. Now, let me give you another statistics. Do you know what the gross enrollment ratio for higher education is? 27%. Now, when you start looking at the poor, the lower economic strata, that goes down to 18%. Now, that means you are shaping a population that is not educated. That can't be. We have to reverse this in our own lifetimes. And some of the work done by the esteemed panelists here are actually doing that. So without further ado, with that brief introduction on how corporates and philanthropies can work together to support and train the youth and make them empowered and employable, let me just briefly go around the esteemed panelists here, starting from my left side. If you could briefly introduce your work, the kind of work that you're doing and how it's connected to empowering youth of this country, that will be great. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry, I have a teacher's throat, so forgive me for that. I am representing here Shiv Nadar Foundation, the foundation after the name Mr. Shiv Nadar, who's the owner, who's the man behind the SCL enterprise. And I work for a initiative, philanthropic initiative of the foundation, called the Vidhyagyan Leadership Academy. The vision of this academy is that we want to bridge the urban-rural divide, which is huge. This initiative is in the state of UP, where the population is more than 220 million, more than it is might be the sixth largest country. And if I just give you the data, we bring students at grade 6. There are 5 million students who study in 150,000 schools in UP. But most of these students don't have access to quality education. So the vision of this initiative is to create future leaders who can be from rural India, who can be change agents of tomorrow. And this is being achieved through what we call Vidhyagyan Leadership Academy, where we provide them world-class education which is at par with any of the institution you can think in the country or outside the country. And we bring students at grade 6 and 7 years of education is being provided to them. We started in 2009, the first academy, and our first batch graduated in 2016. Where our students are now, you can think of any college in India, best college in India, or even abroad. About 10 of my students are studying in different US colleges, even in Ivy League, the Stanford or the Cornell. And many of them are already working there. So our belief that if these children, they are given opportunity and good quality education, then they can definitely compete with their urban counterpart and even supersede them. And where they are at this moment, that is a clear manifestation of that belief that these children are equally talented. What they lack, that the opportunity was not there. So far, the experience has been very good. As I said, the students who have graduated, they are into the best of the colleges. Many of them now employed. And I'm very happy to share that Indian Armed Forces is a very preferred choice for the student. I have already about 10, 12 students. Many of them have been commissioned already. And just few days back, we got our first girl student who has been selected as a pilot. And here it will be worthwhile to mention that from the very first year, we had a reservation for girl students, because our belief is that if you educate a girl, then you educate a family. So this is the journey so far, which is very satisfying, and it has given us motivation that our efforts are in the right direction. We are still a very young foundation and working very hard to realize the dream of our founder, Mr. Shrivastva. Thank you.
Thank you. Ravi, would you want to talk about the work at the Ramakanth Munjal Foundation?
Can you hear me? Yeah. So before I introduce even myself, I would just want to second Mr. Banerjee what he said. Each and every word of that is true, because, you know, I have interviewed close to about 50 students of his institutions for various scholarship programs of ours, and they are class apart. You know, they come from such humble families, and the work they've been doing, please give them a one more big hand. You know, I can really vouch for it, sir. The fantastic work you're doing. So I'm Ravi Pahuja. I'm from Ramakanth Munjal Foundation, which is part of Hero Group. So basically from this foundation, we execute various CSR projects for various Hero Group companies, Hero Motocorp, Hero FinCorp, Hero Future Energy, and various other. So, and our programs are in various domains, starting from education to skilling, to women livelihood, water, financial literacy. You know, it's a span of about 14 programs. And one of the programs which we're going to talk about later today is scholarships, and how do we handhold students after class 12th, how do we, you know, make them choose better careers and stuff like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Neeraj, briefly introduce your work at Arvind.
Thank you, Paul. A very good afternoon to all of you. I am representing Arvind Ltd. We are a textile and apparel major, also into real estate and engineering and water business. The focus of our CSR is into education, earning, and empowerment of women. I am at the foundation for close to 3 decades. Youth is the focus of all these programs, because as Paul said, only about 18% from the lower socioeconomic strata people are reaching to the higher education. If this is the situation, it needs to be clubbed with people who did not even complete education. And that number is itself very high. If you club these two, perhaps 10% only are reaching to higher education. Right. The moment you see that in today's globalizing economy and knowledge economy, people who are left behind, people who are not completing education, is very, very difficult for them to lead life. So what we have done on education, women empowerment or earning, we see this as a spectrum, complete spectrum. When we work with our children in our families, no one asks whether you handhold a child for 15 years. Okay? It goes without saying. But the moment we start looking at community, dropping out is seen as if this is how it was to be. So we have done 2-3 very simple things. One, we have, for our education program called Gyanada, we are handholding a child for 8 to 12 years. And the purpose is to establish education and employment link. So children who complete about 7 to 8 years of education straight away get onto a job. And this period of each and every child can be tracked. So we are very happy to say that all these children who have gone through this program, they are earning in excess of 25,000-30,000 rupees, and the highest salary has gone to almost 70,000 rupees. So this is the kind of journey. We will get on to linking it to how prosperous and things can happen. The second thing I would like to mention is women empowerment program, where we are recruiting tribal girls for a very unique initiative called a residential factory. So the dormitories are connected to our apparel factories. This is in spirit CSR, but not CSR because it is done in normal course of business. So we don't spend our CSR money on this. But when these girls come, 8 hours they work, 8-10 hours is their personal time. And after that, they upgrade themselves on education. So we have linked them to Baba Saheb Ambedkar University. And in the morning, they stitch garments, and then they graduate. Over 150 girls graduated, and many of them went on to join white-collar jobs. So the purpose of this program is, can we transform the lives by moving them from blue-collar to white-collar? So these are the kind of transformational initiatives happening. When CSRs are there, transformation is something that we look at, and transformation in short duration of time is something that is kind of given as ethos. So thank you.
Thank you. Ashish?
Thank you, Paul. Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everybody. Namaskar. मेरा नाम आशीष है, and I'm representing an organization called EY Foundation. It's part of the Ernst & Young family. Though we are not very known publicly, but we are now almost 18-year-old, and we have been working in 3 spaces. First is education and skilling, second is entrepreneurship and empowerment, and third is environmental sustainability. Beyond that, we work on disaster response as and when required. We have a presence in almost 18 states, more than 300 plus districts, close to 5,000 plus villages. Our impact numbers are close to 7.5 lakh kids, youth, women every year, and that's who we are. I am representing the education and skilling team. I heads that. I have my team member as well. I have multiple partners of mine present in the room, so I'm very happy about that. So this is where I'll stop, and we'll go to the details
Thank you.
later.
Thank you, Ashish. Maybe I'll start with Biswajeet. I was fascinated to see the numbers, your Vidhyagyan school numbers. 90% of, GER, and 60% of them earn a scholarship. And your scholarship, you just mentioned it. What is the secret sauce that allows you to do this? I mean, what do you do to make this happen?
Okay, Paul. So when we started in 2009, I was just sharing with Paul that there was a question by a journalist that what you will do after 7 years. And if you ask me, we were not ready for any answer. We didn't have any answer at that point of time. We were engrossed that our immediate job is only 7 years of school education. And Vidhyagyan Leadership Academy is a school intervention program. But moment they were in class 10th and 12th, the next thought was, what next? School is the number one school in India among all CBSE schools, and even outside India. And we have got CBSE toppers, both in class 10th and 12th. But the point is, just class 12th education will not do. There has to be something beyond that. So then the next chapter started, and that was getting into college. Because of their academic credentials, the challenge was not to get admission in a good college, but the challenge was to get the financial assistance. We have just got and my colleague is sitting here, we just got the result, Nidhi is sitting here, we just got the result of these DU admissions, and any good college you can name in Delhi University, they are there. The college fees is very less, but what about their fooding and lodging to stay in a city like Delhi? And that is a huge, huge challenge for us. So what we started is that we started building relationship with the universities and with the foundation, the Ramakanth Munjal Foundation, Vahani, Karam. So over the years, what we have done, we have got a good relationship building with the universities. And there's a list of universities who admit our student with full scholarship, whether it is Ashoka, I can name probably Vidyashilp, the Flame University, Plaksha, and all these new age universities who had come with courses which are not very conventional. They are demand-based courses. So I think, Paul, that the way we have done is to get into relation with the universities. We have some scholarship within the foundation because we have got institutions like SNU, the Shivnada University at Chennai and in Dadri. We have got SSN institutions, then the private universities and the foundations like this. So I can say that definitely, as is mentioned, that 90% of the student, we are able to get a scholarship. And very few those who want to just take a year break to prepare for some competitions, that is there. But it's a big task every year, about 400 students graduating from school, and ensuring that all of them, they get financial assistance. That is a huge challenge. But so far, we have been quite successful in that. But still, it's work in progress.
Great, thank you. So what I understand is two aspects. One, the access to universities and the relationship you're building, and then making sure that scholarships are available so that they are able to get there is, I think, the two pieces that you're talking about. So then maybe it's a good segue into the Ramakanth Munjal Foundation's work. How do you actually administer scholarships, and what size and scale? That will be a good, interesting
So, they do a good job till class 12. So, I mean, all the students in their school are from humble background, and, they surely cannot afford to be in a city like Delhi, but most of students from their school get admission in top colleges of Delhi. But now Delhi college fees would be 15,000, 20,000 or something. But like you rightly said, you have to stay in Delhi, you have to fooding expenses, PG expenses. So that adds up to another lakh rupee or so, so they definitely need scholarship. So, that's a very small part of number, but what we are talking about, the size of India. So I think collectively all scholarships put together would be not even addressing 1% of our population who deserves it. So, I strongly feel, okay, we are doing scholarships, but 50, 60, 100 numbers, all CSR put together would be doing another 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 students. But, the scale is very, very large. So somewhere I want to tell everybody here is, that we all are in CSR domain. We do help in bits and pieces here. But, these are the pilots which should be taken up by governments, because then governments have the funds. Government have the funds to, there are some states I would not name which have really transformed the education sector already. without much fees, without this thing. So our scholarships do help a few students, but a large number of students still need it. So we need to really work on that. There's one more part of it which I want to address. There are a lot of population in the rural area which wants to study, quite studious students with fantastic this thing. You know, a small thing such as transportation, you know, from their village to the college, you know, contributes to their dropout. So I've seen it firsthand in many villages in Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, even in Haryana. You know, just from here, if you go 70, 80 kilometers deeper into Haryana, you'll find girls dropping out of school after school, you know, because, okay, chalo, governments have opened the school in their villages or in nearby villages, but college they have to go. And transportation is a big, big issue. So, you know, to some extent, we tried addressing that also. For example, you know, we started training the girls, scooty training, you know, in various ITIs. So we took, again, but that's, all is, I mean, we've been able to impact very small numbers, but the problem scale is very, very large, very, very large.
So this question is for all of you. I think the issue you touched upon is really real. There are millions of children capable of actually studying in universities, but they don't have the money to study. And scholarships is just a tiny fraction of it. Governments can't really support beyond that. So how do you think is there financing?
Governments have money.
Okay.
So
okay. Just
much more money than CSRs can do. So it's only has to be channelized properly. They should look at some good examples which CSR organizations and companies are doing. I'm sure, you know, because, for example, a state like Haryana, the education budget would be 14,000 crores, which is all put together in the room, or the CSR or the first 500 listed companies, 2% would also not add up to that.
Okay. But do you see opportunities for any financing products as opposed to government support and scholarships? Is there a way you can create, have you seen examples of that at all in any of your work in anywhere, where creating financing products, where the family takes a small loan and over an extended period is able to repay? Is there a propensity to take those kinds of loans? Because that can actually also address, not necessarily depend on the government for some of
so
this.
for 100 of students whom we interview for scholarship, you know, the second question I ask them, suppose you are not selected for this scholarship, how would you fund your education? So they say loan only, but getting an education loan is also not easy. You know, the banks ask for collaterals, and unfortunately, you get a home loan at 7%, you get an education loan at 11%. You know, so those kind of things have to also change in our country at policymaker levels.
Is an experience on that?
I believe it is very difficult, mainly because the education period is large. The people who are, whom we are addressing to are from very lower socioeconomic strata. The parents' earning is not continuous. Putting all these things together, if we put them into a loan mechanism, it will actually start making their lives difficult. So our experience is that getting loan is difficult because of the collaterals and all what we said. But adding to that, even if they get loan, paying that loan would be very, very difficult. Because initially, all the people who will get into earning a stream is not enough to pay back that loan. So initially, 3-4 years we should avoid and find out other opportunities.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ashish, were you going to say something on this? Okay. I just want to move to you, Ashish. You have deployed a lot of technology at the school level, at the youth level, in making them far more effective. So can you just briefly describe how technology can make a difference?
Sure. So before that, let me also talk about this program which you are referring to, in which we have included the technology element. It's called EYF Disha Scholarship Program. It's been there for almost 15 years. And we have an outreach of almost 14,000 youth, which has already passed through this scholarship. and they're everywhere. They're working with multinationals, they're teaching in universities, they are teaching in abroad universities, they're working with multinationals in various countries. Many of them are with us, EY. There are people working with multinationals within India. I'm sure one or two of them will be working with your companies as well. So very proud of that. What we try to do through this program is basically we try to not transform the life of these kids, but rather transform the atmosphere in which they are. राइट द माहौल जो जिस माहौल में है उस माहौल को बदलने की कोशिश करते हैं. वो जो माहौल है वो माहौल बहुत एक सैड माहौल है, मैं उसको इस तरीके से बोलूँगा, क्योंकि जो उनकी सोशल रियलिटीज़ हैं वो बहुत डिफरेंट हैं हमारे जैसे. अगर आप हमसे कंपेयर करिए या अपने ऊपर वाली क्लास से कंपेयर करिए, इट्स कम्प्लीटली डिफरेंट. उनके घर में एक मोबाइल है जो इनके फादर लेके चले जाते हैं या मदर लेके चले जाते हैं. दिन में एक्सेसिबिलिटी 1 घंटे के लिए मिलती है. अगर वो लड़की है तो शायद उसको 15 मिनट के लिए भी नहीं मिलेगी. बॉय है तो शायद उसको 1 घंटे के लिए वो मोबाइल दिन में मिल जाता है. तो ये जो रियलिटी है इसको हम चेंज करने, इनको समझ के और वो माहौल को हम अपनी इंटरवेंशंस के थ्रू चेंज कर रहे हैं. सो व्हाट वी हैव डन इन लास्ट few years, especially in 2020 onwards, we have added few more component into this. First thing which we did was look around within our company, because we are almost 80,000 plus people at EY, and we looked into the company inside and we found out that there are almost 5,000 plus used laptops which we have, which were in very good condition. We got them refurbished and we supplied those laptops to our kids. So during COVID times, we make sure that those laptops went to these kids along with the data cards. And then we switched complete intervention around our program to online platforms. There were Teams meetings, Zoom meeting, Google Meets, through our counselors and all those things which happened. And then came in the first intervention which we introduced was through IDC Career. IDC Career Counseling company which is present here. Very, very good, effective. And I know them for good 8 years. The best part is that they listen to their funder. Whenever we have given them a feedback, they have heard it and they have made those changes in the program. So now, right now, my component of this career guidance is spread across almost 6 months for each child. There are multiple individual group counseling sessions which happens. There is an online platform to which each child have access to over 2 years. They can see what they want to do and all those things. And trust me, that is a very, very good thing for a child who doesn't have any kind of support in the family, in the society, or in the peer group where they are. And nobody else can be a better example of that than me. Just to add, I did my mathematics because my friends were doing mathematics in class 12th. Nobody told me that mathematics is not something which I should take up. Then I did my BCom first year, I dropped out. I did my BA first year and I dropped out. All right, then I again enrolled for a BA. Then I did my law. Still law, I was clueless what to do. And finally, I met a mentor at DU who guided me towards the social work, and I did my master's in social work and I landed up here. In this process, I lost my 3 years, right? Because there was no mentoring or the career guidance which was not available to me. So imagine the situation there in this community where these kids come from, right? So that's one intervention we have done. Along with this, we realize English is a skill which these kids should have. It's not a language in India, it's a skill. It should have, they should learn this. So we partnered with something called Hello English. It's an app. Now it's acquired by Byju's. And we have seen very tremendous results of this app, the way they are using. I have my partner somewhere here, Protsahan, and their girls are using it. You can talk to Sonal, who is the founder of this organization. And the way these kids, again coming from that background and learn the English language and the way they are speaking, communicating is amazing. I was with them on Sunday, almost 200 of them from Delhi chapter. Amazing kind of impact is what we are able to see. Along with this, we are now completely moving to a tech platform where the entire administration of this scholarship process from nomination till the time they're going to be with us is going to be on a tech platform. Right, so each child is with us from class 11th till the time they complete their graduation. And the graduation can be anything, whatever they want to do, an ITI course or a MBBS degree. So the time frame is not decided. It starts from class 11, can go up to 8 years if somebody is doing an MBBS degree. Now, again, learning that many of them might not get a job and they would want to pursue a competitive examination or higher education. We have added another program called Disha Excellence into it. Again, because this tech platform will tell us the journey of this kid, how they have performed, what are their strengths, and then we will again make them sit with the counselors and ask them that what they want to do. So this Disha Excellence is again almost 2 lakh rupees a year intervention with selected number of kids to pursue whatever they want to do. So technology, of course, is playing a major role for this, and I hope everybody start using it more and
Sure.
more. Thank you.
Thank you. Just for the organizers, is it 5 more minutes? Because my timer says 20 minutes, so I just wanted to clarify the timing.
How much time?
It's 5 minutes more? Okay, thank you. ठीक है. So we'll fast track now. I think a question for you, sir. The gender is such an important part. What are you doing to actually ensure that the woman or the girl child is empowered more, whether it be at the scholarship level or at the career guidance level or at the employment level, because you work with tribal women. So can you give us some flavor of what you're doing for
So
them?
fortunately, I think now it is not a major problem even at village level or the rural areas level. You see a lot of girl child in the school, at least till primary section, and the things like Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, toilet makings have brought them to school to a large extent. Even in our scholarship, we consciously keep 50-50 ratio, because to strike a balance, we ensure that 50% people whom we select for scholarship are females and 50 boys. So we consciously maintain that. But I don't think it is any more a problem, at least at education level. But yes, like I said earlier, they drop out because of the commuting problems. They drop out because of other issues, but not because they're females. That I wouldn't say is a major problem right now. And yes, like adding on to what Ashish was saying, career counseling is very, very important. I feel has to be a period of career counseling in every school, because that's where most of our students are misled, like sabne doctor banna tha, sabne engineer banna tha, so that is changing to some extent in the urban scenarios. But in rural scenarios, whenever I still visit, there are two careers which, when I ask our students in various, so कोई पुलिस बनना चाहता है या कोई आर्मी में जाना चाहता है, and teacher, बस ये 2 या 3 careers वो लोग बताते हैं. So that has to change, and that can only come through a lot of career counseling. So I'm sure, companies like IDC and few more, probably they should get more funding than Byju's today. It has to expand. The career counseling has to expand.